I'd love to hear what you decide to keep in and what you decide to cut out. Because I feel like that's really understanding what's the most critical pieces to hold on to make a story happen out of a long conversation that we have to really distill down.
I try to keep most of it in unless it's a mistake because you're the host and Sue, you're the executive producer of the whole thing, and sometimes I'm told, hey, take that part out where we talked about this and that, and then I go back and edit some stuff out. But my main focus is getting the conversation flowing in a natural way, and try to limit the breaths and the ums and the ahs, and make it sound natural. But I'm not taking out all of them because I still want people to sound like human beings, and not cut it too tight so it sounds unnatural.
Even taking out 2 words is magic. So how about sound? Talk to us about sound, Palle.
Yeah, so sometimes especially Stephanie, you got a great microphone, and sometimes the guests don't have a great microphone. Maybe there is some noise in the background, but then thank God in this modern world there are so many new tools and filters I can use to make something that sounds horrible sound decent. Of course, we should strive to have the best recording equipment that we can, and that is handy, but we can't tell the guest you need to go out and buy a $300 microphone. It is to use what's available, but I try to guide them into being in a quiet room. I kind of like a soft room instead of a conference room with mirrors and big windows. Better be in a crammed office with a lot of stuff, a lot of messes. It makes good sound. So be in a soft room, and then also try to make the guests relax and forget they're being recorded. Make it feel like a conversation, and that's why I always say that when you're giving an answer, if you want to do it again, just go back and start over, and I'm going to edit and make you sound great. That kind of makes them relax, because it can be intimidating being on a podcast if you're not doing it every day. So, yeah.
And what would you recommend? Like in a previous podcast, some read, some had notes, some didn't. What would you recommend for us to coach the speakers with?
I normally never send questions to the people that I'm interviewing, because then they tend to sometimes over prepare. I would send them an outline of what the conversation is about, but not the direct questions, because if they do have a script, you have to be a really talented voice performer or an actor in order to make it sound real.
And Stephanie, tell us how you prepare.
Yeah, so thank you, Sue, for asking. I think the major part of preparation for me is I like to go and look up the background and the history of the folks that we have on the podcast to really understand their perspective from a surface level and get their expertise, because like I had shared before, it's really an honor to be able to engage with the nurses who are such experts in their particular slice of nursing, that just being able to understand a little bit about where they come from allows me to ask more informed questions and prepare what I hope to be a more engaging conversation for other folks who might be listening, same as me, just wondering, what do these experts have to share?
And I think you're very talented in interviewing. How do you listen so attentively and then, without missing a beat, ask the next question? What's your secret?
She's curious. She's just curious.
I think I think you're so kind, Sue, in the way that you say that. But I think that's really truly it is. I honestly, genuinely do love the nursing profession. And while stuttering comes out, I know Palle is there to take care of it. I really genuinely want to know. We have such a wealth of information from the folks who come on our podcast, such a great knowledge. I feel like every time I interact with these nurse leaders, there is something there that I think every nurse, every new grad, every nurse who's on the floor, they are something that they can take away from every single one of our nurse guests. And to be able to draw that out into conversation is an honest opportunity that I'm so thankful to have every time we step into the recording studio. Thank you so much for joining us. The question that we really want to talk about is, if you've gotten to listen to any of our episodes, what is it that you like about our podcast?
I think that your podcast is fantastic. I think that it's so helpful to nurses everywhere, and each different topic you talk to actual nurses who are practicing and who have real life advice. I know even in the workplace violence one, for example, you were talking about experiences that you've had, like terrible things like getting an IV pole thrown at you, not good things all the time, but real experiences. And I think it's really important to kind of bring that up when you're like trying to talk to a nursing audience, because they can relate and they understand, and then we can learn from it, and it can help guide us.
I had the opportunity to recently attend the Nursing Student Association conference in Seattle, and I feel like that's very similar to the kind of feedback I was hearing from the nursing students. Is just that we want a platform that we can relate to. We want people that we can hear from, that we can go back and say, my experience is not unique. I mean, my experience as a person is unique, but there are people out there who understand what it is that I'm going through, and people that I can learn from, and that our community as a whole is something that wants to evolve and change and have conversations. So I'm super glad to be able to hear that. So thank you for listening, Jocelyn.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for making the podcast.